I think we're live. Woo, hello.
Hey,
Obviously
hello, welcome. Darren's changed shape at the moment, so you need you need to bear with us. Good Angela stepped in to take Darren's place tonight. So from Paranormal Live, myself, Darren, that's host for Ghosts, and Darren from South Coast Coast, and Angela there. You know, welcome to the Monday Night Live. We're going to keep it short tonight because obviously Darren was at the investigation Saturday evening with myself and a few others. Poor Angela was at home looking after the children, no doubt. And Darren was off. Darren was off going everywhere, here, there, and everywhere as usual. So we're going to keep it to about half an hour tonight and just talk mainly about the investigation Saturday and all that sort of thing. If you have any comments, please put them in the comments and chat box, and Angela will do her best to ping them up on the screen for us. So don't put her under pressure. No pressure, Angela. So, you know, if you can like or comment and share these. I'm calling from a car in a car park a long way from home. So you'll have to bear with me as well because I may lose the signal. Just welcome to the live, Monday Night Live. So, Saturday's night investigation at the Old Barn Theatre. Wow, interesting night. Lots of things going on. It's lots of good feedbacks. I thought it was a good venue to have and to get going on, you know, for our first time of an event. So it was good doing that. The attendance was good, 34 people. So it was a really, really good turnout by everybody. You know, lots of people enjoyed it. We started off with the human pendulum at first, which sort of, you know, sometimes it's good to start off with that type of beginning because everybody's holding hands, even if they're new or not new, or they're used to it, or they're not used to it. It sort of breaks that little bit of nervousness and people that have never done it before, because you're holding hands with people that have done it. So we always find starting off a night or an investigation like that always tends to be a really good connection with people. You know, it raises their energy, and people don't, you know, sometimes when you get new people there, they don't want to talk, they don't want to call out. You know, it's very difficult because people get nervous, and you understand that. But then when you're in a group with people, it's good because, you know, everybody talks out, everybody asks questions. And Saturday night was no different. You know, we had a lady when we first started off in the middle, which was a great contact. Some really, really, really good questions coming in from the guests around the circle. Very, very positive contact. You know, very definite forward for yes, back for no. You know, and the questions are really good. You know, some real good psychics and mediums there as well. You know, and they were picking up on the energy around the circle of a child, a man, and a woman. So they sort of helped out. They were asking questions, and we got some good responses. And we sort of carried on doing that for a while. And then we had like a few minutes break, and then put somebody different in the middle to see if we could change up the energy, you know, get a different response. And it worked because we had a different, you know, spirit come in the middle, you know, slightly different answers, slightly different way of yes for no, you know. So it's a bit opposite to the first lady. It was in the circle, which was quite interesting, really, because it's probably the first time we've done two people. It might have been probably, I don't know, a little bit long-winded maybe, but it wasn't really. It was 20 minutes, 25 minutes at the most. But it was good to see two different responses to yes and no. You know, one was forward for yes, one was back, and it was the opposite way round with the second person. So, you know, so that was a really, you know, me and Darren found that really interesting. It was two different people and two different responses. We had I don't know, I want to say it was the second one was a difficult spirit. You know, it identified itself as something from nature, elemental. But we really weren't sure about it being an elemental, you know. I know the barn dates back about 100 years, but the timbers in there are recycled timbers from the barn from the 13th and 14th century. So they recycled the wood to build the original building now, and then they still reuse the same wood to build this theatre. So the wood and the energy is from the 13th, 14th century, which is the recycled wood that they made the sort of the walls and bits and the roof out of, which was interesting. So you had a different layer 100 years and then back to a 300 years. So you had massive different levels of energy within that area, which sort of, you know, this second one came in as an elemental. Me and Darren were looking at each other and really not quite sure, but eventually we found out it was a man. We had 4 or 5 people describe someone standing in the wings when we were on the stage, and you know, Darren will tell you this. And I looked at him and he looked at me, and sort of we both nodded over to one corner because we both felt it at the same time. And it was a man, quite a tall man, and he had a top hat on, a cloak, and a cane under his arm. But, yeah, and we both sort of got him right at exactly the same time because we both looked at each other and nodded the same way at the same time. So we knew we'd had contact. And he was a very disgruntled, very angry man, didn't really want to communicate, but he was quite willing to walk around a circle nudging. So yeah, it was really interesting. And you know, a few people said, oh, I could feel like cold air, or I could feel someone standing behind me. And a couple of people said, who's that standing over there? Which of course everybody looked, but there was nobody there. So he was quite pronounced, I want to say, but being there, you know, he wanted us to know he was there. And you know, a few of the answers, he wasn't happy with us being there. He just liked the quiet time. And then we discovered it was an actor, because the barn dates back. There's lots of famous actresses went through there. You know what, the actresses and actors we know now, and the ones that have passed. So, you know, he was a past actor. And then somebody said they could hear dragging, and we thought we could hear, I don't know, dragging, but a noise. It was like a scraping type noise. So we asked the question, you know, did you meet with an accident here? And it was yes. You know, did you hurt your leg or something? And it was yes. So we knew we could hear the dragging of his leg. So we knew he was disgruntled because he got injured there.
Yeah.
So, you know, so we knew we were on to something there. And all night he was in and out. People would see him down on there's a balcony sitting slightly back from the auditorium. And a couple of people said, is anybody up there? And of course there wasn't, because it looked like he was sitting down looking over the banister like that.
Oh, right.
A few people saw him. I think Darren saw him one time, and he said, who's up there? Of course, there was nobody up there. Everybody was sort of split out into their groups.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was sort of, Darren come to me and he said, you ain't going to believe what I've just seen. And you're sort of thinking in your head, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then this person would appear somewhere at the back near the changing rooms. Somebody'd say, who's there? Who's in that room? And then there'd be nobody in that room. And it was very interesting. He was a very busy person. He was going here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah. Did anyone catch anything on camera? Or?
Well, I had my 2 cameras going. Darren had his going. So we have most of everything covered. Yeah. So we're hoping, obviously, you know, it's hours and hours of footage, isn't it? You know yourself from looking over from, you know, when you went up to Devon to the house, you know.
Yeah.
It's hours and hours and hours, isn't it, of looking at, you know, what was that, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. You know, people think, oh, you just quickly run through, but you don't, do you? Because you think, oh, there's something there, you know, and you go backwards and forwards. And,
as long as it actually was.
yeah, it was like when we watched the video from Carn Cottage. And then, you know, where Darren said you were standing in the corner. Yeah. And it looked like you were actually lifting up off the ground. Yeah. And that's because me and Jen looked here when she's actually moving. She's actually lifting up. And it was like 20 minutes, half an hour going backwards and forwards, because you're thinking, is it a camera trick? Is it something? And then that's when we text Darren and said, do you know Angela's actually lifting up? He's like, no. And he went back and had a look. I don't know whether you looked. What did you think? Did you look at it?
I remember feeling like I was moving up, but I haven't gone back over it just to like look closely enough. You
should go back and have a look, because when you say, oh, I feel like I'm lifting up, you can actually see what looks like you actually lifted.
Yeah.
Even though your feet are flat to the floor, and it actually looks like you're lifting. And I said that to Darren, and I think he's gone back and had a look and went, "Oh my God! If you look carefully, it looks like you're actually lifting."
Oh, I'll have
Just
a
as you say it, have a look. Very interesting. You know, it's a good video from up there. Really, really interesting video. You know, some of the stuff.
A comment saying the coat hangers.
Oh yeah. The coat hangers. Oh my God. So we went into, there's like 4 changing rooms out the back near the kitchen, and obviously you could go. We did a few sort of the circle and a few other little bits and pieces, and then I got my interactive robot out, Robbie the robot I call him, and it's an interactive robot, so it's gesture controlled. Okay, so if you go near it, it backs off and goes and backs off, and if you gesture, it goes and goes forward. So you can make it go forward or back depending which way. Once it gets you, if you walk off, it'll follow you. It keeps following you, and if you turn around and go towards it, it'll back off.
Yeah.
And I set up on the stage, and that was going mad. It was like going around the stage and doing bits. And then we headed out to do some table tipping in the rear dressing rooms.
Yeah.
And we picked up a few things there, and I checked with the trustees because there was 2 ladies there with the trustees, and they did confirm what we were feeling and what we smelt was true. So we went into a dressing room down the corridor and on the right hand side. So we go in there, there's like a big shelf above your head with pictures, mirrors all the way around type thing, and what you'd expect to be in a changing room at a theatre, lights, and obviously everything was dark. So we went in there and shut the door, and we were standing there. I can't remember who was in there with me. There's a few of us in there anyway, and we were calling out and didn't really get much, a few murmurs, but nothing really big. We went to walk out and we could hear this tink, 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 tink. And sort of I turned around because I was the last one out and thought, what on earth is that? We went back in the room and stood there, and one of the coat hangers on a big rail was tapping, tink, 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 tapping the edge of the rail, and thought, okay, if we've all walked past, maybe it's the air that's pushed it onto the rail. So we all came back in again, let it all settle, and it's like tink, 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 and then stopped. Oh, well, that's interesting. And then we're standing there saying, Spirit, if you're in here with us, do you think you could turn a coat hanger for us, or can you move them all? And then they all started to sway. And we're like, what? And then you're looking at it and you're thinking, is it me swaying or are they actually moving? And because there was people in there, obviously we didn't know, they're saying they're actually moving. They're actually swaying. And then we said, can you make one turn round? And this one coat hanger in the middle was like, obviously it was swinging, and then it stopped. And then it started to turn on its own. We're thinking, okay, maybe there's a breeze through the door. And then we said, Spirit, can you stop that? Can you turn it the opposite way? And it sort of stopped for a few seconds and then went back completely the opposite way. And we're like, you know, how can you debunk that?
Yeah, no, that's a good
because it went one way and went the other. And okay, most times that people went in there, they said that the coat hangers were swinging backwards and forwards. But what caught my notice was the one on the end was tinking against the rail, going tink, 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 like it didn't want us to leave. But he wouldn't do anything with us there. And that's when I said to everybody, what is that noise in that room? And I opened the door and it sort of stopped. And I thought, okay, I thought maybe Spirit want us to come back in there again. So we all went back in there, and sure enough, we got the responses through the coat hangers, which is absolutely brilliant, you know. So we did other bits and pieces, you know, people had knocking and banging. And so we went into the table tipping with the famous haunted table, you know, and that was just amazing. That table is amazing. You know, it never fails. And it was going on the stage, and Cheryl and her group had it going. And, you know, hopefully we've got videos of it that we'll put up online on you know, Darren's YouTube channel and all of that type of stuff. So, you know, it defies logic when you see that table go up on one leg and literally just stay at that angle and doesn't move. You know, it defies logic that it should fall over because gravity's pulling it over. And then, you know, you say to Spirit, can you take that table back? And sure enough, it just went back onto its legs again. And I know Cheryl and her group had good contact on that because they had it doing all sorts of things. But it was a really interesting table tipping, you know, people, And even the trustees, the ladies that sort of very sceptical, he said to them, why don't you have a go? Oh, no, it's fine. I said, no, have a go, you'll be fine. And they came out after and said, oh my God, that is just like a different type of energy. We thought maybe someone was lifting it, but she said you can feel the difference. The energy in that table is incredible. And she was quite blown away with it, you know. And then we sort of spread out and everybody was doing their own bits and pieces. And then we had a break, a coffee and a tea, like you do, you know, just to recharge. And we went back to the room with the coat hangers, me and another group, and a few new people there. And same again, we had the coat hangers moving, chink, 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 like that. And then they were swaying still, you know, and it moved the one backwards and forwards. It, you know, that room was just obviously something there that wanted to communicate. We took the SLS camera in there, and we caught something standing up on the shelf, slightly in front to the right, to the left of us, which was interesting because we were trying to see if we could get it to come across and move the hangers, you know, try and catch it on the video, see if it would actually reach out, but it was having none of it. It was quite happy to stay where it was. But, you know, they're not performing monkeys, are they? They're spirits, you know, so you respect that. And then we came out of the room, and literally as we came out, I shut the door behind me, and it was like someone knocking on the door. And I'm like, and we all stopped in the corridor and went, did someone just knock then? And we all looking at each other, went, no. So I said, if, you know, Spirit, is that you knocking? Can you do that again? And it was literally like someone knocking on the door and the handle rattling. So we went back in, and same again, the hangers were moving and doing all sorts of things, but we didn't have, I tried an EVP, but didn't really pick up anything. So I don't know what quite spirit was in that room, but he didn't want us to leave at that time. So we went back in, and the funny thing is, as we came out the second time, we shut the door, and then we heard a door handle go, because there's two doors right by each other. Thought, oh my God, it's coming out. So we're all sort of huddled in a corner and heard the door handle go ching, and then like a noise in a corridor thinking, oh, it's coming out. So we're sort of huddled waiting for something to come out. And then someone come out the door and said, oh, sorry, I'm in the wrong place. Oh, no. So that was quite a funny part of it, really. We all looked at each other and went, we're here ghost hunting, and yet we're all huddled in a corner because you can hear a door opening and some handles going, which was quite funny. But the stage was very, very active. You know, people kept seeing people in the wings on there. You know, I think Cheryl and her group ended up underneath the stage because obviously there's a massive room underneath the stage, you know, and they had some really good contacts down under there. It was really, I think it could have been more active, put it that way, than it was. But then it's only been investigated by one other group before. But they, you know, they took in 60 odd people. So, and it's not, Darren, tell you, it's not a massive venue, which is what I said, you know, it's not a huge venue, but to take 60 people in there is a lot, you know. But we had about 32, 33, something like that. And, you know, as a night went on, about midnight, 12:15, a few people getting taxis home. So it sort of came down a little bit in numbers, hence why the photograph looks a bit bare of us all, because we sort of thought, oh, we'll crash the group photo, but a lot of people were cabs waiting, and you know, they travelled quite a way like Darren did and Nigel that night. So you understand people wanting to get away and get home at the proper hours in the morning. But we're hoping to go over the footage and go back and have a look, and hopefully, you know, we had a lot of the theatre covered with the cameras, so we're hoping we got some real good footage. But like you say, it takes months to go through that footage to try and pull out the parts of it. I did a few EVPs I need to go back on, because I'm sure in one stage where was I? I was in the foyer, which is one of the oldest parts of it, and I could hear a conversation even with my ear. Of like a man and a woman talking, but I couldn't. I sort of wandered around the foyer looking to see if I could see anybody. There was nobody there, but I think I caught it on the voice recorder. So I need to go wind that back and have another look over that and see whether I did catch it. I know what I heard, a conversation, a clear conversation, but you know, the history of it was a farmland before, and it was farmed, but they recycled the wood from the 13th and 14th century, but they carried on with the wood right the way through till 100 years ago when they built it. They reused the wood to build the theatre, and the theatre's been used for many uses. During the Second World War, it belonged to the Canadians. During the Second World War, it was a theatre and it failed, and then it was a school, and then gradually it changed to what it is today, where it's a quite a thriving theatre. You know, they have some real good plays and some real good actors and actresses go through there. You know, it's a very interesting place. You know, I think you could get more. I think on the night, maybe it was a little bit quiet. I wouldn't say quiet, but not active, you know, doors slamming and things, which is sometimes what you want, isn't it? A bang, a shout, or something to prove. But most of the people, I suppose. All right.
Emma put another comment saying, I do think they were overwhelmed with the amount of us there. So maybe that's why it wasn't quite so.
Yeah, you're very true, Emma. You know, and I did say that maybe we would go back with a smaller amount. You know, instead of, you know, a lot, you know, I put it out to about 20, 25 people in the beginning, but a lot of them people were members of the theatre that wanted to come along, which sort of tipped it to the 30 odd, which me and Jen were like, oh, well, what can you say? You know, but they have approached us about doing a members only night there. So a smaller group. And, you know, if I could get a smaller group of people together that would cover the venue cost, then I would go with a smaller group. And she's right in what she's saying. I think it was very overwhelming, because if you've got that amount of people and you're looking at people in different rooms, you know, you're asking spirit to go from room to room, here, there, everywhere. You know, they're not performing arts, are they?
No.
You know, and we're asking them to go in the changing rooms, in the kitchen, you know, here, there, under the stage, on the stage, in the forum, you know, on the balcony. You know, you're asking them to do all these things, you know, and I think, you know, to our surprise, it was, you know, 10 people from the theatre that were there that are members there. So they sort of came in. Obviously, they paid their ticket, but they came in, which was sort of pushed our numbers up a little bit higher than I really would have wanted to. But, you know, they were interested, and a lot of them are trustees of the barn, you know, so which is what can you say? You know, you can't really say, oh, I don't want 10 more of you. So we sort of had to bite the bullet with that one a little bit. You know, it was a bit, not disappointed, but it is how it is. You know, it was nice for people to come along. You know, we had some really, really nice feedbacks. You know, it was great. You know, a little bit quiet, maybe too many people, which is fine. You know, you got to accept that. That is how it is. You know, and I did say, you know, what you put into that night, you'll get out. You know, and it was a great loads of guests, knowledgeable guests, psychics and mediums there, with some brilliant questions and answers. And, you know, the guests were brilliant, which made the night, you know, fun, lots of laughter, and, you know, a real good crowd, which makes the big difference, really. But I would, you know, if people are interested, I would go back with a smaller group.
Okay.
You know, I think it'll be a lot more active with a smaller group, but obviously you have to cover the cost of the venue. You know, so, you know, within that smaller group, obviously ticket prices become a little bit more expensive. You know, and it's the same as, you know, with all the other groups, Julia and all of them. You know, you try and keep it affordable for people. You know, if people don't want to pay £60 or £70, go there and nothing happens. You know, because that's an utter disappointment, isn't it? If you keep it an affordable, you know, enough, because all we've done was had enough to cover the cost of the venue. You know, we didn't made any money out of it because we just wanted to cover people to have an affordable, you know, like Paranation, you know, affordable ghost hunting. That's what it's about. You know, they're not out there to make profits and things like that, because that's not what it's about. You know, and you keep the ticket prices relatively cheap, you know, and then if nothing happens, you know, it's not as bad as paying £70 and nothing happens. You know, when you're paying £30 for 5 or 6 hours of ghost hunting, but bearing in mind that we had all the equipment there they could have used, the SLS cameras, you know, all these equipment were welcome to use. You know, not many places would allow you to do that.
No.
So we've taken a risk, lending out the SLS camera that's like, £500, £600, £700 a camera. It's quite expensive, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You've got obviously Darren's haunted table. You don't want that to get broken, and you take a big risk. But I thought all in generally it was a really, really good night. The feedback was brilliant. So I know Darren had a good night. He was interested in a few bits of the films that he got because various things had happened. So we needed to sort of go back over the footage and have a good look, and hopefully we'd have caught some good evidence, especially this man in black with his top hat, a cloak and a stick. That would be interesting. We could catch his shadow because he was there. Lots of people said, who's that in the corner? Who's that with the top hat? So, some people saw his shadow or saw a shadow. So it'd be interesting to look back over the footage and, maybe we've caught something, maybe we haven't. But that's just how it goes, isn't it?
There's a few more comments come up.
Okay.
Gemma said it was a great time at the theatre. She said she definitely had whispers in her ears and felt like she's being told off.
Thanks for that, Gemma. Yeah, it was like that. A lot of it could have been audible, because I did say in the beginning, please bear in mind that people carrying out experiments, they try and keep the movement and the noise to a minimum. People are doing recordings, people are listening, because some places are more audible than they are visual, or vice versa. And yourself, Andrew, you go out with Darren, sometimes you can hear more than you see, So we did ask people to sort of keep quiet. And that's a good point, Gemma. A few people said they'd had whispering, but myself, I never heard that. But a few people said to me at the end of the night, has anybody said about the whispering? And I said, well, not as far as I know. But I know, Gemma was with Cheryl on that, and they were getting some really good contact. They are a good group anyway, and we said to people, I think they took a new lady that had never been before, was a bit apprehensive, a bit worried. And they said, no, come with us. And by the end of the night, she's like, and I said to her, how'd you go? And she said, oh my God, what a group. What an amazing night I've had, which is lovely for her. And it's a real credit to Cheryl and Gemma and all of them to make her feel so welcome. She said she had an absolutely incredible night, which was lovely.
Yeah. And Debbie's asked, have you ever investigated the military museum in Aldershot?
Yes, I have done that. I've done that. How many? 3 or 4 times, I think. I did it a couple of times with Darren. He was there, guest medium psychic there, and I did it with a group called Surrey Paranormal.
Oh yeah.
And we went in there. It must have been 3 or 4 times, I suppose. All in the end, very interesting place. A very, very interesting place. Lots going on, lots of things, lots of noises. Darren could tell you. It's a very audible, not so much visual, but very audible tapping, knocking, music. I was there. Interesting thing about that, I was there one night with Surrey Paranormal, and I was with a lady called Sam, who's one of the investigators with us, and we went to set some cameras up in one of the, because it's like huts. Do you imagine what I mean? 4 huts in a row.
Yeah. And
it had Montgomery's armored stuff in one, that they got a collection of Montgomery's stuff and desert rats and all of that, and then they had one about tanks and one. It was very interesting, a very, very interesting museum. So me and Sam set up the cameras, and we thought when we turned our backs to come out, we heard something, but never really sort of okay. And then it wasn't long after that, I sort of text Jen and said, were you picking up anything? She said, who was the woman shouting? I said, what do you mean, what woman? And me and Sam hadn't heard this. She said, I can hear a woman say, don't forget to write. I said, well, but there's nobody in there, Jen. It's an army museum. So she said, I can see someone on a ship, someone standing there waving, saying, don't forget to write. I can hear this woman shouting. And I said, no, Jen, no. So can't see anything. So me and Sam later in the evening went back there, turned the lights on, walked round the corner, and on the wall was a poster of a load of army guys on a ship, woman standing on a bank waving, saying, don't forget to write.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God. So I sent Jen the picture. I said, look at this. She said, I told you I heard her shouting. But me and Sam never heard that. Not at all.
Interesting.
So very, very interesting place, that Aldershot Army Museum. Very interesting. You get a chance to go in there, even if it's not at night. Go there during the day, because it's very interesting. They got, rifles that were used during the war, rifle uniforms, and they have a room where it would have been the bunk where they would have slept and how they would have been in them times. And the first hut was the original hut where they would have come and signed into, because they would have been doing national service and conscripted into the army. And that hut, whenever you walked in there, you always have butterflies in your tummy, like you're very apprehensive. So whether you're feeling the residual energy of people that would have, young lads that would have been signing up to join the army to go to war, so you feel their nervousness, their apprehension, butterflies, all that type of thing. But that first hut, everybody that went in there would feel the same thing, like butterflies. You would get this butterfly feeling. We can only put it down to maybe a residual energy where you go in and sign on, because obviously it's sort of the mouth of a very active military base.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, obviously, because there's tanks outside that have used, and a lot of stuff they've collected over the wartime. So it makes it quite an active thing. Obviously, yes, we would like to go back, but we have contacted them, and they're not. He said to me, due to insurance purposes, they're not doing anything like that at this time. So, which was a real shame, because I think people that got a connection to the military, because when we did the officers' mess, Yvette Fielding, off of Most Haunted, her father served in Aldershot military there, and he was in the officers' mess. So she's got sort of a bit of a connection to the officers' mess there. I think it's called Mandora Barracks now, or was. I think it's changing now. I think I went there with Darren and Julia and a few others before. But the military museum was, yes, very, very interesting. It's Debbie, wasn't it, said that? It's a very, very interesting place, Debbie. Very interesting. Steeped in history, but a real place to do a paranormal investigation, because say lots of the uniforms come from people that wore them during the war, so you pick up that residual energy, and the guns were used, and mock-up tanks, and they had mock-up rooms. And the funny thing is, when you're in the dark and you walk around a corner, there's a mannequin standing there. It's not the best. It's not the best place to be finding a mannequin when you least expect it. So you're sort of on edge when you're walking around on your own to check the cameras, or you're taking guests. There's somebody standing there, and it's a bit like that. So it's quite whoa. You put your light on, and there's a mannequin for you. Oh, for goodness, there's something still there. How many times have you done that and seen a mannequin and sort of whoa? And then look back and it's standing there thinking, I'm here to investigate for ghosts, and there's a mannequin, I'm running from a mannequin. It's quite funny. Are there any other comments?
I think it's Gemma that said Aldershot is so haunted.
Yes.
Are there other places you've been to in Aldershot around that
So
area?
I've been, I mean, we've done the military museum. We've done the officers' mess. We even done a bit. We tried to get into the hospital next to the officers' mess, which is the King George did something hospital, which is where a lot of the war wounded came to convalesce and injuries and all of that. We sort of sneaked in there, although that was being knocked down at the time. We sneaked into there at one stage, and that was very active in the basement there. But you couldn't really go upstairs because it was being torn down. So obviously going into them areas, you've got to be very, very careful. It is dangerous what we do. When you're entering buildings that are derelict, and you so want that contact, you're so excited, but you've got to watch your surroundings, haven't you? It's easy to fall through a hole in the floor. There's always glass everywhere. God forbid anything happens. That's why we always say you should never go in on your own. And when we go to Waverley, isn't it, Angela? You go in as a team and you come out as a team. Nobody's ever left behind, because you don't want that person to end up falling over or something happens. So we have a strong belief that we go in as a team and we come out as a team. All of us, when we do Waverley, we're always coming out together.
Yeah.
You know, and that, I've done, what have I done? I've done a few military places. I've done a fort in Ipswich, a couple of forts in Ipswich.
Yeah.
What's the other military one I've done? I've done a few military stuff, and they've always been very interesting. You know, it's obviously it was steeped in history. You know, numerous things. What else? Oh, I did a place called Robert Denholm House in Bletchley, which belonged to the Royal Canadian Air Force during the Second World War. And it's where they would have trained their officers and pilots.
Oh, yeah.
Again, another very interesting place. You know, lots of activity there. The basement was super haunted there because there was a murder there in the basement. So, you know, super haunted place. A very good venue. Loved it. You know, it's a really good venue. What else have we done?
Have you done Cambridge Hospital, Debbie asked?
Cambridge Hospital? No. I have done an asylum.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just this side of Oxford.
Oh, yeah.
I must admit, it's the most spookiest place I've ever been, to be honest with you. I'm quite a brave person when it comes to darkness and that. So we were asked to go in there to investigate because they were doing changes to what would have been 70 years prior would have been an asylum, but it shut down and never really reopened as anything. Somebody bought it, so we went back in there. So they asked us to go in there because the workmen were going in, but also they weren't staying there long and they would come out again because they just couldn't do it. There was things moving. And anyway, we went in there one night and they asked us to go in and we went in. And to be honest with you, when you walked in, it was like you walked in the reception area, and it was just like someone was going to stand up to talk to you. You know, it had that quiet feeling.
Yeah.
And then as you came into like a main foyer, there was wings off either way where the patients would have been. So, you know, in the wings, when you walked in there, it was like a kitchen at the end of the wing, and then all beds all the way down. And the beds were all still made, like the corners were turned over on the covers, and the kitchen was still had crockery and everything still laid, which make it super. Bearing in mind it'd been shut 70 years, and it made it super spooky because you think, oh, you know, is it shut and sort of thing. And that's actually where I got shut in a room. Yeah, I made a mistake and went looking. You know, I thought I heard. You know, like we say, we go in as a team and come out as a team, and we don't split. We stay together. And I thought, when I looked down the wing, I heard talking in one of the rooms. I thought, well, it can't be. We're the only ones here. And as I shone my torch down the corridor, I could see a door move. I thought, well, I'll go and have a look in case it's a breeze. And I said to the others, I'll be back in a minute. It's all right, be careful. You know, so I walked down this corridor, and it's super dark then. And I thought, oh, we must. And I remembered the sort of how far down the door was, and all the doors were open, but this one was sort of semi-shut. So I remember sort of opening the door, and it's a typical haunted film, isn't it? The door creaks. It has to creak, doesn't it? It just has to creak, you know. So I opened the door, and it's, and I'm thinking, well, you just had to do that, didn't you? You just could not have opened as a normal door. No. And obviously, in I went. And the room was there, the bed was made, the corner of the covers were folded back, and you know, and this one had the windows still in it. Most of them had them broken, but this one's still in the room. And then suddenly, when I was in the room, I was sort of looking around, and the door slammed behind me. And I'm thinking, oh dear, I'm in a bit of trouble here. And I had my phone on me, but I couldn't get a signal to call the others. So there I was in a room on my own, which is a fatal mistake to make anyway, really. And I could feel something in that room, and I heard footsteps walking around me. And I'm thinking, I'm on my own here. You know, what do I do here? And that, you know, from all the learning, you know, doing the parapsychology course and all the other stuff that I've done, you know, if you get things like that, the more scared and frightened you get, the more energy they get. You know, they feed on your energy. So I'm thinking to myself, it's all well and good people saying, oh, you know, just stand up for yourself. But when you're in that situation, that's not always the first thing you think. You know, that fear factor is what your human body gives you, that fight or flight reaction. So you have to overcome that and think, and I just kept saying, come on then, you know, do what you got to do. I know you're here. I can feel you here.
Yeah.
And I was getting sort of super angry with it, saying, come on then, if you got to do. And then the door opened, and I sort of obviously got out of the room and sort of went back out the corridor lively. And then the other said, "Are you all right?" Because I was quite sort of flustered. I said, yeah, fine, yeah. Who's down there? I said, well, there's nobody down there. It was just a door moving. I don't know why it moved. But I never had the courage to tell them that, you know, I'd actually got shut in there. But the scary bit was having no communication on how to get out.
No.
You know, because they were in the main reception, which was quite a way away. So, and then they would have gone off and done a bit further away. So they would have been a little bit further away from me having to do that call out, you know. So
how long do you think you were in the room for?
Pardon?
How long do you think you were in the room for?
5 minutes, 6 minutes, maybe, tops.
Probably
It seemed like hours, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm thinking, what do I do here? What do I do here? And I sort of did try the door, but I couldn't move the door. You know, and I'm thinking there can't be anybody on the other side, because I know for a fact they're not there. They're up the other end. You know, and then you sort of start to think, I'm in trouble. You know, something, you know, but fortunately you sort of think, okay, the more fear I show, the more energy they get. Maybe I just need to be angry and get out. And fortunately, for my sake, I learned by that mistake that I never did that again. You know, if I saw something, heard something, I would always go to a couple of us. You know, what else have I done? Oh, I've done so many different locations. You know, all interesting. And it's the same as yourself and Darren. You know, Calm Cottage was another level, wasn't it? Really?
Oh yeah, that's definitely a memorable one.
Yes, you know, and you watch the video back, it's incredible. You know what was there, and even sort of when you look back at it and you think, who was there? You know, who owned it, and what would have gone on there, and you know, all them types of things. And you think to yourself, you know, are we safe here? Is there anything here? Is there anything that would want to attach to me? You know, you must have thought that when you were in there, really, knowing what it's been used for.
Yeah, I think that's why we stayed clear of the pentagrams on the floor. Like, don't stand on those, don't go near those. So, yeah.
Anybody else commented on anything?
Debbie has asked or said there was an asylum near Egham called Holloway Sanatorium. It's now converted into housing. So I bet that was haunted.
I've done that one.
Oh yeah.
I did that with the Ghost Club of Great Britain. It was the Royal Holloway University, but it was always called the Royal Holloway College at the very beginning.
Oh yeah.
And it was built by a guy called Brian Holloway. And what he did was built this was a stately home originally.
Oh right.
And the idea was to bring the women that worked on the streets, the prostitutes, and the really people that didn't really have a great deal of chance in life. And he would bring them out there and train them to be servants and maids and all these things, and then release them into the higher society of around that area. Which, if you think about it, in Egham, it's right near Windsor Castle, you know, and Egham, Runnymede, you know, where the Magna Carta was signed, and all of that sort of stuff, you know. So it's very well to do. And obviously they travel back into London as maids and servants and all that sort of stuff. So he lived there with his wife, Jane Holloway, for many, many years. And then she sadly got dementia. But obviously they never knew it as dementia like we do now. They just said that she'd actually gone mad. But it was like a form of dementia that we call now, you know, in them days. So, you know, that's all right. No, don't worry. So what he did then was he actually built a sanatorium down the hill, because the Royal Holloway Sanatorium University is on the top of the hill. And what they did is, that's where I studied my parapsychology course, was there. They had an off like a college down the bottom of the hill called Strode, where it was an adult education part of the university. And that's where I studied my parapsychology course with a professor from America, where we studied time travel, you know, dual lifelines.
Excuse me, can you go out, please? I can't hear. Oh, thank you. Sorry.
And that's all right. That's where I studied my parapsychology as a mature student. So I was going there in evenings and working on my coursework. you know, the normal course was about 3 years. It took myself and another guy that was, you know, in the same situation, about 3.5 years to finish it, and obviously finished it and sat the course at the end and got a distinction. But and then I was approached by, I'd heard of the Ghost Club of Great Britain, which was started by a guy called Arthur Conan Doyle.
Oh yeah.
He started the Ghost Club of Great Britain, which was a bit like the Lads Club, you know, like Hellfire Caves, that type of club.
Oh yeah.
And they would talk about ghosts and their experiences. And he started the Ghost Club of Great Britain, and then it was sort of carried on from there. Very famous Ghost Club, you know, absolutely terrific people, so knowledgeable. It is incredible what these people know. And I was fortunate that they were doing an investigation at the Royal Holloway University. So they were doing a study there. And all right, it's all right, it's Jen. All right, good enough. There we go. All right, okay. So I was very lucky to be invited there to do a ghost hunt that night. So we were up at the Holloway College, so it was right at the very top, you know, and we did a couple of places. So we did the boiler house where there was an explosion about 200 or 300 years there. When they were there was a massive explosion that killed people, and that was really the first time I'd been on a Ouija board at that time. So, and that was very interesting for me to know about the Ouija board. So from there we decided to go down the tunnels, because when he built the university at the top of the hill, he built the sanatorium down the bottom of the hill in a place like called St Anne's, which is like Debbie's saying now, is full of houses down the bottom. But they just recently discovered Jane Holloway's swimming pool that they had specially built, and they never knew it was there, and they were doing ground maintenance to come across it, and it's the original pool that she would have used along with some of the patients. So down there between the college at the top and the sanatorium, he built 2 tunnels. So when the patients came from London that were mentally ill, and say people look at seeing them, they would take them down the tunnels because they were safe and nobody would, you know, think any different of them. So he built these 2 tunnels down the hill. So we went down the tunnels, and this is the most sort of first time I think I'd ever had interaction with spirit, to be honest. And 2 tunnels are identical, so there's no difference. So what you don't realise is when you enter the tunnel and you start moving, you're actually going downhill, because the sanatorium was at the bottom of the hill. But because the tunnels are so dark, you don't actually know that you're going down. So it's very easy. If someone spun you round, you wouldn't know which way you were going. It was that dark inside the tunnels, and both tunnels are identical. They look exactly the same as each other. So off we went, and I was at the back of the group, and down we went, and we're down there calling out, and you know, lots of taps, lots of noises. Thought we could hear children giggling, that type of stuff. So it was interesting. So to go down there, she just like dropped fluorescent markers on the ground, so we knew which was the way out. So if we got split up, you'd know your way out, because you could go a mile down to the sanatorium but not know how to get back, because there is no back, because it's complete dark. So it literally goes down the hill about a mile, half a mile, 3/4 of a mile. So on the way back, we're walking along, and I was on the back of the group of about 10 people, and I could hear what sounded like someone running up behind me and skidding on the dirt like children would. And I'm thinking, what? And I turned around, and obviously no one there. And then I felt a tug on my shirt. You know, it's like someone pulling back on my shirt, turn around, still no one there. And I felt this all the way out of this tunnel for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes of walking out of the tunnel. And I'm thinking, oh my God, kept turning around, nothing there. Came out of the tunnel, back to the room, and she said, we're going to have a cup of coffee now. And she said to me, what did you feel? And I sort of went through it with her and said, this is what I felt, but I'm really not quite sure what I felt. And she said, okay, what I'll tell you is going to astound you. During the Second World War, the tunnels were used for the local children to be hidden underground during the bombing, because it was bombed a lot during that area, Stanwell and Ashford and all the way into London. What they used to do is gather all the children and put them in the tunnels. So they wouldn't lose them in the tunnels. They would hold the back of each other's shirts. So they knew the way in and they knew the way out. And they weren't allowed to let go of the shirt tail until they came back out. And she said, what you're feeling is a spirit child holding onto your shirt tail, heading out of the tunnel.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Amazing place. But you know, it's very, because they have priceless paintings, and you know, it dates back, it's so old. You know, and you talk to the security guards, and you know, there's one landing where they see someone run out of the room and jump, and they've run up there, gone out in the courtyard, there's no one there. But what they later found was a student committed suicide by running out of this room and jumping out the window.
Oh no.
But they can see it on the CCTV cameras. They often see various things there.
Oh wow.
It's up to you. We're just going to swap seats. Just bear with me a sec.
Okay.
Ben's done it again. Damaged the door again. Just bear with me a sec.
Yep. No problem. Thanks for joining us. I think that's you, Gemma, isn't it? You're saying you got to go. But thank you for coming on and commenting.
We're finishing now.
Yeah.
So we're finishing in a minute anyway. Yeah, so sorry about that. So we'll turn it on. Yeah, so that was a very, very interesting place to be. The Royal Holloway, that, you know, steeped in massive amounts of history and all sorts of things that are going on. So to answer, I think, Debbie's question, yes, I have been there.
Yeah. Cool.
Any other comments or?
There's lots of wows and oh my gods and amazings stories.
You know, we have many years, like Darren and myself, we have many years of experience.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
sorry, we lost you there.
Yeah.
You know, like yourself and Darren, you travel around and to all these different places like Rendlesham Forest and places like that. You know, the whole. It's gone again. You may lose us now because we're on the move, so we're heading home now. Jen's had enough.
Oh. Hi, Jen.
I'm hungry.
She's hungry. So, you know, if there's any questions people want to ask, you know, otherwise we'll call it that.
Yeah, I think that's it for this evening.
Okay. Just a big thank you to everybody for coming in. You know, and a big thank you from us, myself and Jen, from coming to the venue on Saturday. Interested, the Barn Theatre. You know, lots of interesting hits and things that happened there.
Oh yeah, we heard the footsteps downstairs.
Oh, we heard footsteps down the stairs towards the kitchen, that sort of thing. Myself and Jen, we walked out to have a look. So we were having a quiet cup of tea while everybody was busy. Couldn't see anybody there. There's nobody on the foot. You know, so that was quite interesting for us. Just a big thank you for coming into the live tonight. Obviously, Darren's busy with his other stuff, and Angela's kindly stood in. Okay. And Angela's kindly stood in for us. So, you know, if there's no more questions, Angela, you got anything to add?
Nope. It wasn't as scary as I thought it would be.
No, I said you'd be fine, didn't I?
Yeah, thanks for the comments, people, and for joining us.
Yes, thank you for commenting. Obviously, you know, if you need help or don't understand, or, you know, ask us a question. If we don't know the answer, we'll try and find someone that does. You know, hopefully we'll go back over the footage from the weekend and post it up. So we get some good footage, and hopefully we've picked up some real good evidence of paranormal. Way. So it's a good night for myself and Jen, and Jen's driving, so she's. So hopefully we'll see you all next week, next Monday. I think we might be doing it later time because we're competing against EastEnders and Corrie Street. Apparently, Darren was saying earlier.
Yeah.
And we're not on their level, are we, at the moment?
No, not quite.
Yeah. So keep an eye on the websites and and the shares, because it may well be that we go on slightly later next week, 8:30 to 9:30. Just keep it to around about the hour, so if you have any comments or anything, really, get back to us. Share, if you could share and like this for us, so people see what we're doing and seeing how genuine we are. Come forward and talk to us. Any other group that wants to talk to us or give us things, or even if they want to come on and chat about their own investigations and different things, you're more than welcome to come and join us on a Monday night. We are who we are. We're a very genuine group, and we're interested to hear other people's sides of the investigations that they've done and come across. I've only sort of gone through a few that I've done. Darren's obviously done more than myself. He's been in it a lot longer than myself, and Andrew's done a few with Darren, and Ben's done a few with me. So, come in and tell us a bit about your team, even in your investigations. So, thank you for coming in. Thank you for commenting, Gemma, and is it Debbie and a few others.
Yeah.
We do go through your comments after. We will have a look, and then we will respond to the comments. So I would say, have a great week, and thank you.
Good night from him.
And a good night from us. So, have a good week. And a good night from Angela. So have a good week, everybody, and stay safe from us and Angela and South Coast Ghosts.
Yeah. And we'll see you all next Monday.
Yeah. Take care, everybody.
Bye. 8:30.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.